stay in the region. Amid the growing tensions between US and EU, China's foreign ministry has said that China and the EU Parliament were lifting all restrictions on mutual exchange. At the time, the Chinese foreign ministry said the members of the European Parliament, Reinhard Bütikofer, Michael Gahler, Raphael Glucksmann, Ilhan Küçük, and Miriam Lexman, were among those who severely harmed China's sovereignty and interests and maliciously spread lies and disinformation. Let's listen into what China had to say.
几年，中欧的立法机构交往，因为众所周知的原因，出现了一些波折。当前形势下，双方都认为中欧加强对话合作十分重要。经双方商定，中方和欧洲议会决定同步全面取消对相互交往的限制。我们相信并期待，随着中欧全面恢复立法机构交往，双方的交流和理解将更加深入，将为中欧关系的持续健康稳定发展注入。
Now we go back to our guest discussion with Mark Sutherland. He's a geopolitical commentator. Thank you, Mark, for staying with us. Now, what does this China's decision to lift all restriction on mutual exchange with the EU Parliament signal about Beijing's diplomatic strategy towards Europe?
Well, the big issue is that China is the second biggest, growing to be maybe the first biggest economy within the world. This is the war that's going on. The Silk Road strategy goes deep into most areas of Europe as well, because people want the money, people want the trade. It's all about, at the end of the day, they are using this diplomatically to then gain influence. They already have that over here, say within the UK. A number of years ago, under Theresa May, there was the whole Huawei row. We have a lot of foreign students from China within the UK as well. This brings revenue. One of the reasons why we were concerned about Huawei was from whether that could be used for devious means. When David Cameron was Prime Minister, soon after coming there with George Osborne, his Chancellor of the Exchequer, they flew off to China to start negotiating deals, etc. The fact is that a lot of, as we know, many companies have moved their industrial power base to China. So it's the manufacturing capital of the world. So it's in the European Union's economies are not in a good state at all. So there has to they want the Chinese investment. They want to be able to trade with China, not have tariffs. But of course, China wants the influence, and the influence that it is having. We have to be extremely cautious about it, because in 1978, when they turned around and got sort of state support behind the liberalization of their economy. It's taken a long time, but we now see how powerful they are, because they want to be number one in the world. This is what we are all dealing with. As I've said previously on other shows, they want a multipolar world. They want to be influential. That's why they are very much part of leading the BRICS nations.
And Mark, now building on that and looking at China's criticism, how significant is China's strong criticism of specific European Parliament members with their names publicized, accusing them of harming China's sovereignty and spreading disinformation?
Well, I could sort of cheekily sit here and say they are not in a position to talk, but the thing is, they are extremely powerful. They have huge. Our economies have been pumping a heck of a lot of money into their economy. We've actually built them up ever since Kissinger and President Nixon, all those years ago, going back 72, 73, went into China and began to open it up. Many companies, as I said, have handed over their manufacturing industry to that part of the world. They are in an extremely powerful position. We only have to look at the Silk Road strategy that they've done in regard to Africa and seeking commodities, saying we will build this infrastructure for you, but we want access to the commodities that your country has, e.g. minerals, etc. They are in a very powerful position to flex their muscles. This is why the onus, and this is where people are at, this is why Trump is doing it, which is to get manufacturing and jobs back into America, other European countries. That is what they actually need to do to get jobs back into Europe. But this is extremely difficult because of the competition that China has in regard to having a lower wage economy. But they also have a challenge there as well, because the Chinese people are demanding more and more wage increases, etc. So it's a very, very interesting time. But we would be very, very stupid if we underestimated the power that they have. We had our own Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, a few months ago, going over there, cap in hand, asking for money and for lending. The other thing, just quickly, we've got to bear in mind is that most European economies, including the UK and particularly France as well, others, are in huge debt. And that huge debt very often may end up leading back to China and the amount of money that's lent and the reserves that they have, but also in regard to the investment the Chinese make in countries. If it's about power and ideology and being number one, we have to be, as I say, we have to be very, very cautious of that. And that's why I always thought we had nation states where individual nations can stand on their own 2 feet, have courtesy, wonderful interaction with the other nations around them, but to then be able to invest, but more, be able to protect their own economy and have good competition. China doesn't want that, because at the end of the day, they want to be the competition, e.g. number one in the world, and dictate to other countries.
Yes, indeed. Mark, thank you for sharing that. Please stay with us as we move